compared to the low fat. So we can say that this is an increasing trend. That's the same sentence I have used over here. Let's read this paragraph again. At the start of the period, the butter was the most popular spread, which was later replaced by margarine from 1991 to 2000, and following that, the low fat and reduced spread became the most widely used spread in final years. So I think you got this part. Okay, this is about our first body of the paragraph. So introduction and body of the paragraph, if you really write it very well, this is surely going to give you band 8, and the only one band that counts the remaining conclusion and the another body of the paragraph. So you have to understand most basic aspect of this. We have discussed about what all are the overall trend in first paragraph. In your second body of the paragraph, you should see what all are the in-depth information about this conception of spread. I mean, literally they have given 3 kinds of spread, how their trend changed, or whether they increased or whether they decreased, how much did they increase, or what all are the changes that happened. So these all are the things usually we have to talk on the second body of the paragraph, especially in your task 1. So let's see what are the minor trend but individual trends. Okay. So with regard to the amount of butter used, so I'm going to talk with the butter. I'll read first, then we'll go to the diagram and see what. With regard to the amount of butter used, it began at around 140 grams, because they have given grams, right? So we have to write exactly how many grams it started and how it is decreased, whether it is decreased or increased. And it started with 140 grams and then peaked. Instead of peaked you can use increased, or the growth was this much, or any other way you can use any other synonyms. I have used peaked at 160 gram. So see, in 1986, before falling dramatically to about 50 grams in last year. So see, this is, I have talked about the butter. Butter is the major factor or major spread consumption in our graph. So butter rate, it began, it started with 140 grams and later it again it increased to 160 grams, that is around in 1986, but later it fell down dramatically to about 50 grams. So you have to mention exactly, and this is given dramatically in the sense that because it was increasing, right? So all of a sudden it will decrease, so that shows some drama, right? So you can write dramatically to about 50 grams in the last year. So let's see from the graph that how the butter rate. See, I have mentioned that butter increased. This is butter. So butter rate increased from 140 grams, increased, peaked to almost 160 grams, right? It is almost touching this line, 160 gram. That it dramatically decreased. See how it is decreased, dramatically decreased, and it was around, I have given exactly in the, to how it reaches the its mid 1991. Its rate has decreased dramatically, and later to a stage of almost 50 by, this is not exactly year given, but we can say that exactly almost 50 gram it reaches almost end of the year. Okay, so that was the data I have spoken in terms of a sentence. You understood. First it was 140, then it increased to 160, and later it dropped to a 50 by the end of the year. So that's the trend. Got it. Let's move on to the other. Likewise. So likewise means similarly instead of similarly, because many people use similarly always and it won't give you any kind of marks. Try to use, or else you can say meanwhile. Okay. Likewise, approximately 90 gram of margarine was eaten in the first year, after the figure fluctuated slightly and dropped to a low of 40 grams in 2007. So here also approximately, why I have said likewise similarly, because it is about butter first increased, then decreased. Got it? The similar trend was shown over here with margarine also. So I'm going to talk about margarine. Margarine, it was approximately 90 in the starting stage, and later it fluctuated slightly and then later dropped to a 40 grams in 2007. So margarine, see the blue line, it was around 90 grams. See, around 90 grams, and then it fluctuated and then it dropped again and increased at a rate, but however it dropped to almost 40 grams and below 40 grams somewhat here. So it shows the similar pattern with the butter. So that's why I have mentioned both of this in the similar paragraph, same paragraph. So I hope you understood. With regard to the amount of butter used, it began at around 140 grams and then peaked at 160 grams in 1986, before falling dramatically to about 50 grams in the last year. Likewise, approximately 90 grams of margarine was eaten in the first year after the figure fluctuated slightly and dropped to a low of 40 in 2007. So till now we were talking about the two spreads are done, like butter and margarine. What is the other one? The last one is about low fats and reduced spreads. So we have to talk about three of them, right? So let's see on the other hand. On the other hand, or apart from this, you can use apart from this and apart from this. On the other hand, besides, moreover, you can use any words over here. I just used on the other hand. The consumption of low fats and reduced spreads only started in 1996 at about 10 grams. This figure, which reached a high of just over 80 grams 5 years later, fell slightly in the final years to approximately 70 grams in 2007. See the trend, I'll tell you, then I'll show you in the graph. The consumption of this particular area, I mean low fats and reduced spreads, they have started in 1996. I mean people started consuming this about 10 grams. However, when it reaches 80 grams within 5 years, okay, see the difference, 10 to 80 grams within 5 years period, and later slightly it decreased. However, it maintained 70 grams in 2007. Even though it started at 10, and it increased to a range of 80, but later even though it fell to some extent, however it remains 70 grams in 2007. Let's see with the help of the diagram. See, low fats and reduced spread is about here, the orange line, and it started almost with 10 grams and then later it increased exponentially. I mean, like, you can say skyrocketed to a rate of 80 grams, and then however it decreased to some extent, but still it maintains a 70 grams. So this is about my task 1 line graph. I hope this is one of the best sample you could use. This is simplest and easiest sample you can practice, and the best tip about IELTS is about practice, 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 and surely you are going to get your band 9 scores. And let's see with your if you have any suggestions or comments, please put in the comment section. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video.